My name is Dr. Femi Egbesola. So at the moment, I am the National President of the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, known as ASBON. ASBON is the national body that caters for the needs of small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, but with special focus on micro and small businesses. And like you know, micro and small businesses are those whose turnover are from 300 million naira and below. So any businesses operating with that turnover is considered in Nigeria as a small business. And again, too, I serve as co-facilitator in the Nigerian Economic Summit Group of the MSME Community of Practice. MSME means Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Community of Practice. Also, too, I lead quite a number of different organizations that has to do with entrepreneurship. One of it is that I'm the chairman of the Organized Private Sector Network in Ogun State. The Organized Private Sector Network is the umbrella body for all business membership organizations in Ogun State. These are some of the things I lead and I do. Well, on the scale of 10, I think I would place this administration for the past 2 years on 5, on scale 5. On one hand, they've done a lot in form of reforms to be able to stabilize the economy. Yes, they inherited so many challenges that has really impacted negatively our economy, but they've been able to stabilize the economy over time. They brought about a number of policies that has long-term benefits. But on the other hand, while these reforms are bringing about hope in the future, the challenges and the immediate impact has been very negative, particularly on businesses. It's been very negative to the point that it has to lead to the death of some businesses because they could not cope. This has led to us having inflation, very high inflation, eating the roof, that has indeed eroded the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. At the same time, trying to balance FX, the foreign exchange, has also made it very difficult for us to have our input at the rate we used to have it. We now have to pay so much to get imported raw materials into the country, imported equipment and machineries for us to work with. And you know, when that happens, the cost of production also go up. And while we are trying to push that to the consumer whose purchasing power is already eroded, it becomes a big challenge. Again, too, in the process, we have issues with hiking in interest rates. Interest rate went up. NPR was on the increase from each meeting to the other. And you know, when interest rate goes up, it debars SMEs from being able to access funding from the bank, because at that point, it becomes quite unprofitable to do business with bank money. And you know, without money, businesses become stunted. These are some of the challenges that we had. So while the reforms are good, we felt that government at that point should have introduced some intervention that will cushion the effects at the immediate, while we look for the long-term benefits. Those effects were very scanty, and for that reason, it affected SMEs in particular. And that's why over time, we say that some of these SMEs are either ailing or went under. Several reports shows that at least about 10% of MSMEs businesses went under during the period, about 10%. And we look at 10%, that's talking to the fact that in a population of about 40 million, that's about 4 million businesses that went under. But one interesting thing is that because sometimes necessity becomes the mother of invention, some businesses are going under, new ones are coming up, not because people are passion to start a new business, but because out of necessity, out of the survival instinct, many more embrace entrepreneurship. So as we have some people dropping off in the entrepreneurship life cycle, we have newer ones coming up again, and that makes the number somewhat reasonable. So as we speak now, the main difference in terms of numbers that statistics can cover is that formerly we had about 40 million MSMEs, but at the moment we have about 38 million MSMEs according to data. And that means that the gap is just about 2 million. So while about 6 million may have gone under, another 6 million, so to speak, has come up to fill the space. So the vacuum or the gap now is just about 2 million MSMEs. All right, let me start from the negative side. The removal of the fuel subsidy was a big one for us. It increased logistics, it increased transportation, it increased cost of doing business. And that was a big shock because SMEs particularly do not have that capacity to bear that shock at that time. So for that reason, cost of production went up, cost of doing business gone up the roof, and then many businesses were unable to cope. Again, also is the policy that tries to stabilize the FX. Yes, that makes it very difficult for many MSMEs to be able to also stay afloat because the stabilization of the FX meant that FX has to go up. Naira depreciated considerably. It became very difficult to get Naira even in the black market. And at the same time too, because many of us are still dependent on importing raw materials from overseas and other inputs, we have to pay through our nose to bring in raw materials, which depleted our working capital. Again, too, is the cost of energy. At the point, energy became graded into band A, B, C, and D. And for those who are in band A, they have to pay sometimes 100, 200% of the normal cost, which also eroded into our profit and makes it difficult for us to do business at that time. Interest rate, like I mentioned, is another one. Interest rate went up as we speak now, is over 30% in virtually all the commercial banks. And that is not too good for businesses, particularly the small and medium-sized businesses. That's another big shock for us. We also have another issue with taxation. We have taxes coming up everywhere from the state, federal to the subnationals, even to the local governments, coming up with different taxes. Many of these taxes are multiple taxes and are already impacted the seemingly sick businesses that are in the country. We also see a lot of migration. We have a lot of migration from the country to other countries because the economy is harsh. So it becomes very difficult for MSMEs to be able to engage technocrats, to be able to engage people who can actually offer value to the businesses because they've left the country, particularly in the area of those who are technology savvy that will have supported small businesses. We also have the issue of being able to cope with very many inconsistencies in government policies. We have one policy today, then before you say Jack, another policy has come up that is more or less anti-policy of the first one. So some of these challenges are very, very tasking for MSMEs, and it was not too good for us. But coming to the other side, we have some gains along the line. Some of the gains was that while we have the issue of fuel subsidy removal, CNG was introduced. That's up to some extent to serve as palliative for us because some of us have to convert to CNG for our generators and even some of our vehicles so that we can save costs. Again, too, we have the intervention fund from government, the federal government intervention fund. While many could not get the fund, or at least some pocket of MSMEs were able to access it, and to some extent, it was able to provide some form of palliatives. We also have the reform that surrounds tax. At a point, the federal government had to appoint a presidential committee to see to fiscal and tax reforms, and we were able to come up with very wonderful reforms that we feel that when it becomes implemented, it is going to really impact positively on the MSME community or ecosystem. That to us is a big relief because while it is not yet passed into the law, we are already feeling some form of cool because we believe that it is going to solve some of the many challenges we have around tax. Again, too, we have the issue of government coming up to initiate a national window for payments in the port. And that helps ease a lot of bottlenecks that we used to experience in the port. We also see some policies that is supporting export. Export is now being supported, particularly through African Continental Free Trade Area. where you can now begin to import to African countries in some, so to speak, borderless, in a borderless manner. And the government was also very intentional about this by ensuring they provide some form of strategic support to those who want to go into exports, and even trying to also, to in some form, give financial support to those who are already doing exports. Very recently, too, we have the pronouncement of the Nigerian First Policy. The Nigerian First Policy stipulates that governments and individuals must first buy locally made products here in Nigeria before thinking of going to overseas to buy. It is a product that are not available here that we should be thinking of buying overseas. That, I think, will also stimulate growth in the MSME sector. We also have this policy that talks about value addition to our product before it is being exported, particularly our agricultural product and solid minerals. The policy stipulates that about 30%, minimum of 30% value addition must take place before we begin to export. That, to me, is already another very valuable policy that is going to really improve with a lot of Nigerians and create jobs. Because by the time we had value, we will not be exporting our jobs again and importing poverty into the country. We'll be able to gainfully engage so many other persons in the value chain that will improve our economy, improve our revenue, and eventually create jobs and to some extent reduce poverty and even criminality or insecurity. While we have some exceptional youth doing wonders, embracing entrepreneurship and giving it their all, we have some other, which of course at this time forms majority, that are not interested in work. They're not interested in hard work. They're not interested in entrepreneurship, but they're interested in quick get rich quick syndrome. They want to what the balance is known as Yahoo Yahoo. They want to engage in other vices that will give them fast money, and that we always discourage. In our own community here, in our own association, we have a particular group for youth. We have 16 different groups or sectors in our association. One of the sectors is a youth group, and over there we try to see how we can support them to be able to not just embrace entrepreneurship, but to be more productive and be able to scale their businesses. But one experience we've had is that many of them are not really willing, because what they get at the end of the day perhaps may not be able to sustain their economic livelihood. And that goes beyond our capacity to handle. But I must say that the very few of them that chooses to embrace entrepreneurship are doing very well. And I think it's time for government to begin to be more strategic about supporting the youth. They are the leaders of tomorrow. And of course, they have more insight than some of us, because technology has been able to help them to be more knowledgeable at this time. I'm happy that the government, that's one of the gains of government anyway, was able to establish what is known as the Startup Act. The Startup Act is to enable MSMEs, particularly the young ones, to be able to have some kind of funding that can assist them to start business and grow their businesses with a single-digit interest rate loans and sometimes grants. And again, too, the Bank of Industry also came up with an initiative whereby they don't need collateral to access some form of fund to start and scale their businesses. And that's some of the things they do. And we also have quite a number of non-governmental organizations doing a lot and to try to support the youth so that they can live meaningful life, contribute meaningfully to the society, and of course to the economy. So for me, I think that narrative will change when the economy improves. When we see our economy improving, when we see that those who go for white-collar job are being paid well, when we see that opportunities are also there for those who are in blue-collar job, then you will see that they will begin to be more serious. For now, I think one of the mitigating factors that is discouraging them is the economy. You can imagine the current minimum wage of 70,000. What would 70,000 do in our economy at the moment? That's one of the challenges. And I think every hands must be on deck, not just government. Everybody must put hands on deck to ensure that we pay more than a particular attention to the youth, because a lot will come from them, because they will be definitely productive if they are given the needed attention, the needed push, and the right intervention. On a lighter note, let me mention that Nigerians are very hopeful. We are very generous with that. In fact, the latest Faith Foundation report on state of entrepreneurship says that 78% of the respondents are very hopeful that the next 1-2 years will be better than what we had 2 years back and even more. And it's based on the fact that we believe that some of these reforms, some of these policies will begin to have their gains because many of them are long-term. And some of this long-term effect will start in the next in the 3 years or 4 years of this administration. That is the next 1 year or 2 years to come. So we want to begin to see that the reforms will become productive. We expect that the tax bill, when it becomes law, will be able to enable businesses to do better. We also want to believe that when the interest rate is stable and at some point begins to decline, it will also assist businesses. We're also seeing some form of investment coming out from the international corridor to support businesses here in Nigeria, and that's a good development. And that if that continues, we are going to see a big leap from what we have now in the ecosystem, the MSME ecosystem. We can also see now that many organizations are beginning to leverage on technology, which is also helping. And this has also helped some form of the sectors of businesses, particularly the fintechs, those in agriculture, those in manufacturing, making very good use of fintech. And it is really, really, really helpful, fintech and technology. So by and large, we believe that in the next 2 years, we should be talking of something better. But then I must say here that for us to achieve this, it's not going to be just by shunning out reforms or policies. There must be strategic and intentional methodology of ensuring that those policies does not just remain in paper, they're not just shun out as laws, they are majorly well implemented. They have to be well implemented. One of the ways to implement it well is to make sure that critical stakeholders are engaged and they are part of the process. We all need to co-own the policies together. We all need to co-create it. We all need to co-monitor and implement it together. That's one of the ways it can work. And as it is going on, government must also see need to bring about interventions to arrest some of the shocks along the value chain. The reality now is that there is hardship in the town. And it may be difficult for some to survive till that point when we begin to see succor. So it's important for government to bring out more interventions and to also be strategic about assisting those at the bottom of the ladder. Now I'm talking of nano businesses, one-man businesses, micro businesses, small businesses that are not having the capacity to absorb some of these shocks. It's important to do that. It's also important to open up access to finance for them. It's important because this is one of the lifeblood of business, and it is very, very difficult for this particular sector to access funding this time. We look forward to government easing up access to finance and also opening up opportunity for small businesses in particular to be able to attract international funding the more by opening up channels that will make it possible for that to be achievable. For us as small business owners, we have come to realize that we just must be resilient. We just must continue to cope. We know that the challenges are much, but we also realize that as many as the challenges are, the opportunities also abound. We want to continue to tap on the opportunities. We want to continue to leverage on the other good sides that we have. Now we have opportunity to export goods out of the country in a more seamless manner and make foreign exchange for ourselves. When we make foreign exchange because of the value of our currency, it means more profit for us. And also because our currency is devalued, it also makes us more competitive because our products now are cheaper in the global market. So it helps us to be able to sell more in the global market. And as we are selling more, it impresses us, it impresses on us the need to improve our standards. So standardization is becoming better. And we also believe that with this new policy, the Nigeria First policy, which is well implemented, and government becomes the first implementer of the policy, meaning that they're the one that will start buying first locally made products. Every other person will need to follow suit, and it will improve the lot of MSMEs in the country because access to market is also one of the key factors to assist us to grow and scale. So by and large, we are looking forward to the next 2 years being better than the last 2 years. We're also looking forward to also drawing a line between what government can do for us and what we can do for ourselves, and keep more to the line of what we can do for ourselves, how we can on our own benefit more. That's why there's need for us, particularly small business owners, to now belong to business membership organizations. It is there that we can get the needed support that will help us to spur from where we are to what we want to be. And that can also be through the association that we can get the right hand holding and mentoring that we really need. So I want to encourage every business owner, particularly MSMEs, to look for associations, business membership association, accredited business membership association that they can identify it with and see how they can grow together. So finally, I want to say that we also need to assist government to make sure that some of these things come to be. If we do not do so, we are the one that will suffer the brunt the most. So it's important for us to assist government in whichever way we can to make things work. And I believe that when it works, the economy will improve, we will become better for it, and more importantly, our children will come to live in a better Nigeria.